Have you ever imagined sitting on top of a rock for 36 years of your life? Let's talk about that. I have had many opportunities to talk about the strange and bizarre on this channel, anywhere from screaming ladies in the woods all the way down to giant red camels that trample everyone in their path. Today, I want to talk about something that is not in the supernatural realm of things and stories and history and all that jazz. Because today, I will be talking to you guys about ancient or olden, old Christianity. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh boy, we're talking about religious stuff. We're talking about religion. Oh crap, this is not going to be good. This is going bad. No, this is by far one of the most interesting stories I've ever heard. It is not a religious push. It is not some uh, lesson or me preaching. It is me simply getting ready to tell you guys about one of the weirdest monks. Now, as you guys know, monks are a sort of religious figure. They are zealots, if you would. Uh, However you know of monks, define monks, whatever you define a monk as. Correct me if I'm wrong in that. They're religious figures, typically religious figures. You have things like the Shaolin monks, and you have things like Catholic monks that run churches and things of the sort. There are many different kinds of monks, but today we are going to rewind into the early days of the church in the Roman Empire, specifically the year of 423 AD, which was the beginning of what I would consider to be one of the most interesting historical practices I have ever heard of. Today, I want to talk to you guys about the Stylite monks. Stylites were a sort of Catholic monk, if you will, that spent the days of their lives praying and fasting and meditating, all of which done on top of giant stone pillars. So at the beginning, when I said they were guys that sat on top of rocks for most of their lives, I actually meant it. These particular monks believed that the mortifications of their own bodies was more like to help ensure their salvation. So they just sat up on top of these pillars and either starved themselves or just toughed out harsh weather conditions. And they did this for years at a time, and some of which would do it until their own deaths. They were very common in the early days of the Byzantine Empire, and the first one that was ever recorded was Simeon Stylites the Elder, who sat up on top of a pillar, doing exactly what I was talking about, meditating and praying and fasting for 36 years of his life, and then he passed away. Many skeptics, most specifically Herbert Thurston of the Catholic Church, believed that Simeon was in fact practicing occult practices or pagan practices in his time spent up on these pillars, and that Stylites were actually like bad, like they were practicing evil things and they weren't good. But there's no historical evidence to back that up. That's just what this person thought. But I generally think that the idea of a monk sitting on top of a giant stone post just chilling there, praying and meditating, is one of the most insane things I've ever heard. Insane in a good way, of course. Not insane in like insane way, like, oh, that's crazy and that can never happen. I mean, that's crazy cool. That's hardcore, dude. Of course, there have been many other Stylites other than just Simeon the Elder, one of which being Daniel the Stylite, who sat up on top of his pillar for 33 years as opposed to 36, and was blessed by and given the cowl of Simeon the Stylite himself. Of course, as time went on, most of them had not been as extreme as Simeon and Daniel and other Stylites of the olden days. In the East, the Stylite practice was specifically common in the Russian Orthodox Church, but like I said, it was not nearly as extreme as it had been in the early days. Sadly, the practice of Stylite monks only lasted in this church until the year 1461, and it basically all came to an end. They didn't really practice that anymore. In recent centuries, there actually have been a few remaining Stylites, like in the Georgian Orthodox Church. A Stylite by the name of Maxime. I'm not going to try to pronounce that name. A monk from the Georgian Orthodox Church who has lived on a pillar for about 20 plus years, and he comes down every 2 or 3 weeks to, of course, do whatever it is that he needs to do when he comes down from the pillar. Of course, his pillar over time has been preserved by government agencies or fundraisers. This 1200-year-old pillar has been preserved by certain organizations to maintain its holiness, I would assume. But the Stylites are very interesting to me. There are many different kinds of religious people out there, especially in the Catholic Church, but none of them are nearly as crazy sounding as these guys. These guys are literally sitting on top of a rock until they die, just starving themselves. Isn't that crazy? Imagine doing that. You know, I can't. I couldn't imagine doing that. I don't know if any of you guys could, or if any of you guys have done. Maybe there are Stylites watching this video right now. It's a possibility. Are there? If there are any Stylites watching this video, please tell me in the comments below. It'd be much appreciated. Thank you. But it is such a bizarre and archaic way of practicing your religion. I mean, anymore, it's typically just going to church and praying and reading your Bible, and that seems about it. But back in the day, these people were very hardcore. And I know that there are still monks to this day that exist that live in extreme conditions and do it for the sake of their faith. But this is different. This is crazy. I love this. I think I'm probably just going to go out into the middle of the desert and sit on top of a pillar until I die. I mean, wouldn't that be crazy? That would be crazy. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you guys find this interesting, and maybe you'll do some more information digging and searching. Do research. I don't know why I couldn't just say do research on your own and read more about the Stylites, because they're cool. They're interesting. And I think you guys would be interested to read about them yourselves. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And as always, like, comment, subscribe, share, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.